Welcome to the In Love with PMDD podcast, where we dive deep into dating with PMDD, PMDD relationships, stress, triggers, PMDD rage, and really understanding how attachment styles play a role in PMDD relationship. So I am Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist, and I've personally suffered with PMDD for over 19 years. And I've dedicated my practice to help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups. My dissertation, the phenomenological study of the relationship experiences of partners of individuals who suffer with PMDD, gave me insight and tools on how PMDD affects the partner who has PMDD as well as the partner who does not. So each week, I'll be sharing my specialized trauma transformational tools to help you rewire your PMDD brain, get rid of the stress during the luteal phase, and finally have the relationship that you both desire and deserve. So whether it's understanding PMDD triggers, controlling PMDD rage, or healing past trauma from events that have happened in your relationship, this is your space to rebuild your relationship, empower you to connect with someone while having PMDD, and ultimately grow stronger together. So to get private PMDD relationship counseling sessions or for more PMDD tools, go to inlovewithpmdd.com. Now let's get into today's episode. We got this. Today, I'm going to be talking to you all about dating, PMDD, boundaries, and all of the things. So for those of you who have premenstrual dysphoric disorder and you are in the realms of dating or in relationships, number one, today, January the 5th, is Dating Sundays. It's the first day. It's like the Super Bowl of dating. And I know if you have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, this can cause you to have a lot of anxiety. You can get really nervous. I know a lot of my clients during this time are feeling like very hopeless about dating while you have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. They're not really understanding when they should tell the person that they're dating that they have PMDD, how they're navigating their relationships with that. And so I wanted to, number one, share an update with you on my dating life, because as I've gone into this year, and I told you I was working before with a dating coach and really just understanding what I wanted to add back into my life. So 2024 was the year of the breakup for me. And it was the year where I always reference this movie by George Clooney called Up in the Air. And it's basically when he said the statement of when you empty your backpack, you get to decide after that what you want to put back into it. And so for 2025 and pretty much the end of 2024, I just said, you know what, I want to just come home to myself. So I've been on this journey of like coming home to me. And what that really means is that I needed to figure out, I needed to really rebuild myself. When I talk about coming home, it's coming home to the core of the things that bring me joy, that bring me peace, which is one of the biggest things that I did not have in my PMDD relationship. I wanted it so bad. The biggest thing that I kept saying is, I just want peace. I just want peace. I just want peace. I had a couple of birthdays that I blew out the candle and I was literally just like, I just want peace. There was so much chaos, so much confusion, so many fights, so many arguments. And I just felt stuck in this place of having a lot of crap that I was dealing with. And it was very cyclical, right? Because every single time I went into PMDD, it would come back up. So I knew going into my luteal phase, like I'm going to be dealing with these same issues in my PMDD relationship. And the thing I will tell you when it comes to using the tools that I teach you here on the podcast, your partner has to be willing to do some of the work. Even if they're not the ones that have PMDD, they have to be willing to be in it with you. That's the whole point of having a partner. It's like, yes, you may be the one who has PMDD, but your partner needs to put forth some effort into getting on board with what is going to work best for you in your PMDD relationship, which is why I created the program, My Partner Has PMDD, Now What, which is still available on sale. I think for the next week in January, I'm still going to leave it on sale. But what that course really allows your partner to do is to understand how to become a supportive PMDD partner, how to stop walking on eggshells all the time in their PMDD relationship. And your partner has to be on board. And when you don't have a partner that is willing And you almost feel like you're pulling them along on this journey, and you're wanting things to be different, but they may be complacent. They may be in this place where they're just like, well, this is just how it's always going to be. This is just how we're going to be. And that is like the worst place to be, that feeling of hopelessness, because you're starting to think that your relationship is always going to be like this. And if you're in a PMDD relationship right now and the relationship sucks, the biggest mistake that you can make is getting stuck in that place of you're not fighting anymore. And what I mean by fighting, I don't mean fighting each other. I mean fighting for the relationship that you desire and deserve. And so I just had to get back to this place of really asking myself, what kind of relationship do I desire? What kind of individual do I want to add into my life? And so, what I would say to you, an exercise that you can really use, is ask yourself, what kind of relationship do you want? This is the perfect time. I don't care if anyone is making you feel bad about wanting to do things differently in the new year. There's a lot of condescending people out there with, even if it's like losing weight or like looking better or trying to set new goals or like goals with your finances. There's this community of people that are kind of like shaming people for wanting to start over for the new year or wanting to start fresh. Those people that are just like, new year, new me. I'm not shaming you for that. If the new year is what you needed in order to get out of that place where you're feeling stuck, where you're wanting to do something different in order to have different results, lean into that. And don't feel the need to feel like you have to explain it to anyone. Because I know for me, I even use this because I know that I was on that journey of deciding that I wanted to date and figuring out what kind of person that I wanted to date, what kind of relationship that I wanted to have. And I had to get to that point where I decided, what is it that I wanted to add to my back? I needed the fresh start. And so lean into that. If you're feeling like, oh, no, it's always going to be like this and no need to start something new. No, 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 no. Start something new. Use the new year. Use this momentum in order to get you to a place where you want to be in your PMDD relationship. And a lot of times use your partner, right? Tell your partner like, hey, this year I want our relationship to look differently, and use the new year as a way to propel you both to be working towards the relationship that you desire and deserve. So if you've been feeling discouraged and you're feeling like, oh, I don't want to start it, or it's so stupid, it's always going to be, lean into it, right? Because you can really use this momentum, and keep listening to the podcast every single week, because I'll motivate you and I'll keep you going on that journey. But one of the biggest things that I had to do when I was deciding what to add to my life, coming home to myself, is understanding what brings me joy, like the core of what I love to do. And there's so many things that I've not discovered, I've kind of rediscovered, because I have a best friend that I talk to every single day. And a lot of the things that I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so happy I'm doing this. Like, I've been going to a lot of dance festivals. I love EDM. I'm definitely a raver, but I definitely did not do that in my previous relationship. I completely took it out. I took it off the table. And what I will say, and we're talking about boundaries today, what I will say is, when you remove something from your life that genuinely brings you joy, you will pay for that later on. And what I mean by that, you're going to pay for that in your sorrow. You're going to be feeling like something's missing. You're going to be feeling like you're not recharged. When you have premenstrual dysphoric disorder, when you have PMDD, you need things in your life that fuel you. You need things that are going to build you back up. You need things that are going to bring you joy in the middle of your suffering and PMDD. So if you've gotten to a point in your journey where you don't have those things anymore, I want to say maybe it's time for you to come home to yourself, come back home to you. And what that means is, think about the things that bring you joy, because PMDD is a lot of suffering, right? I'm not one of those people that are going to try to convince you that PMDD is your friend, that PMDD is not that bad. PMDD freaking sucks. And it's here on a monthly basis. PMDD sucks and it's here on a monthly basis. And you know that it's coming again. And maybe you're at that place where you only have one good week out of the month. You only have one good week, and then bam, you're right back into suffering with your menstrual cycle. You're back into suffering with your ovulation. I have a lot of private clients that suffer during ovulation. So they don't really have a 2-week break. They only have a 1-week break. And it's kind of like a teaser, right? Because you know that you can't stay there. You know that you're not going to stay in your follicular phase. So some of you are not even taking advantage of your follicular phase because you're like, what's the point? I'm about to suffer in my luteal phase. So what's the point of getting on this high? That used to happen to me a lot, where I used to be on this really big high of feeling really amazing, which I do in ovulation. And then all of a sudden I would get my PMDD symptoms. I would literally wake up in PMDD in a cold sweat. Like that's, I think the way that I wake up in PMDD every single month is the most horrific thing that you can even imagine, because I'm like going to bed happy and waking up with anxiety, waking up with depression, waking up with misophonia, like the sensitivity to noise. It's like waking up in an altered universe. Like everything looks different. It's like the show that my daughter's trying to get me to watch, or the season that my daughter's trying to get me to watch, Stranger Things. That's how I feel like it is when I wake up in PMDD. I'm like, everything's strange here. Everything feels different. Like I'm in the same body, but my body feels different. I hold, a lot of tension in my traps. And so I wake up with literal body aches as if I've done like a workout. Like you literally would think that I went and like somebody beat me up. That's what I feel like. Yeah, Jasmine is saying, yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I'm waking up and I'm like, what the heck is going on? Like, how is it that everything in my life is the same, my routines are the same, but it feels different? So when I talk about my PMDD partner's morning routine, and you can go back on other episodes and see what that is like in detail, but I wake up and I do the same thing. I'm a very habitual person. I'm a very habit-based person. I'm a very ritual person. So when I'm waking up in PMDD, it's literally feeling like I'm like in the mud. Like everything is so much harder, and I have to really like come to terms with that. It's like it's almost like I've had PMDD for over 18 years now. This is my 19th year, like yay me. But it's like, why is this a surprise for me? Like it shouldn't be a surprise that every single month I'm feeling like this, but it is, because it's like it slaps me in the face. I'm just like, oh my gosh, like what's going on? And so when I'm thinking about what kind of relationship I want, I have to really take that into account. One of the mistakes that I've made in my previous PMDD relationships is I didn't prioritize focusing on PMDD and my luteal phase. I pretty much dated the person, married the person, and then worried about PMDD after that. And I did, and because I assumed if you love me, if you care about me, you're going to be a supportive PMDD partner. It's just going to be automatic because you just love me that much. And that's not the case. Hence why I created the program, My Partner Has PMDD, Now What? Because I figured out supportive PMDD partners don't just flourish. They don't just exist. And just because a person doesn't know how to handle you or be supportive in your luteal phase automatically doesn't mean that they're the wrong partner for you. Doesn't mean that they can't be the right person for you, but it does mean that they do have to put forth a little bit of extra effort into understanding what that looks like for you. And it's a very individualistic journey. So I want you to just ask yourself, like, let's do a counseling session right now. Like this is for free. Like this is free 99. Um, if you were adding someone to your life, or if you could just kind of like, and I know a lot of my private clients who are in relationships, you're in marriages, you're like, I wish that I could just kind of like shake the etch a sketch. Remember that little toy when you were little, and it's like an etch a sketch, like you can draw things on it with the two knobs, and then you can just kind of shake it and then everything disappears. That's what I want you, that's the kind of energy that I want you to have going into the new year. I want you to look back at your relationship, or your dating relationship, or wherever you are in your PMDD relationship journey, and I want you to shake it right now. Shake it and just make it like a blank slate. I want you to just focus on what would it feel like if you could have a do-over, if you could have a fresh start and really decide what kind of PMDD relationship would you want? What kind of PMDD relationship partner would you want? Because I talked to you last week on the podcast, and I said, I don't desire a partner at this point in my life, right? I just want to make it clear, at this point in my journey, I desire a companion. And if you want to know the difference between the two, go listen to the last episode and it'll really break it down for you, specifically for PMDD. So when I started dating, it took me months. It took me like 6 or 7 months to even figure that out. And the only way that I figured that out was hiring someone who was in the dating realm that helped me see what I needed to see in order to move forward. So that's why I always tell you, you have to invest in yourself, in your journey, because I couldn't have come up with that on my own. Like, and you can go back on the podcast and listen to the episode with my dating coach because I wanted to be very transparent. I didn't want to come out here and start dating and being like, yeah, I figured it all out, guys. Like, I'm an expert in PMDD dating. No, I'm not. I'm an expert in PMDD relationships. I am Dr. Rose, your PMDD relationship psychotraumatologist. I help you stop the monthly PMDD breakups from a relationship aspect. I was going into dating and I was in foreign territory. Like I didn't know what was going on. I mean, there's so many topics that I can go off on as far as dating is concerned, these situationships, these friends with benefits, these all of this stuff that really messes you up. And I almost cursed just now. I have a clean podcast, so I'm not going to curse, but I almost curse right now because it really messes you up when you have PMDD. Like, I feel like it's not fair. We're at a disadvantage because we're already confused. We're already overwhelmed. We're already stressed. We're suffering with these symptoms. And now we have to deal with people that are gaslighting you, that are ghosting you, all of these things. And I literally was like, help, I need help. And the first thing I did, I was like, okay, so if this was my private client, what would I tell them to do? Like I would tell them to go invest in themselves and get help. Like if my private client is telling me that one of the major reasons, and I have a private client right now that is saying like one of the major blockage for their level of intimacy that they're having with their partner is because they're not happy with their weight. They're not happy with how they look in their body and it's impacting their intimacy. I'm My advice to them is go invest in a nutrition coach or count. Well, no, there's not a counselor for that. Nutrition coaching, dieting, moving your body like in a way that feels good to you. Go invest in the area of your life that you're finding the most struggle in your PMDD relationship. And I'm not claiming that I have all of the answers to all of the things that have to do with PMDD. I specifically wrote my dissertation, which is behind me for those of you that are watching me live here on TikTok. I wrote that on PMDD relationships. I could have written it on anything about PMDD because I've suffered with PMDD and there's a billion symptoms. So I could have focused in on any of that. I never claimed to be an expert in all things PMDD. I am an expert in PMDD relationships, hence my dissertation, which is somewhere back there behind the PMDD Partners Breakup Proof Journal. But that's my focus. So if you're coming to me and you're in a PMDD relationship, I know that I can help you. I have expertise in that area. So when I was saying like, hey, I'm in this dating world, like I needed an expert. I needed a dating expert. I needed a dating mentor. I needed somebody that was like deep in it. And I didn't necessarily need it to be related to PMDD. Like the dating mentor that I hired wasn't even specialized in PMDD, but they were specialized in dating. And that was the issue that I was having. And so when I went to him and he kind of like broke it down for me, he allowed me to see that what I was really desiring or what I am desiring is a companion, not a partner. How much longer would it have taken for me to figure that out? I would have dated a lot of people, maybe been in a lot more relationships, and I would have been searching for the wrong thing. So it's the equivalent of not using your GPS, like getting in the car and just winging it. Just, oh yeah, I'm good. I want to fix things in my relationship. I don't have any direction of how to do that, but I'm just going to get in my car and go. I don't have time for that. Like that was one of the things that I recognized this year. I was like, I don't want to waste any more time. I've and I don't feel like the time that I've spent in these relationships has been wasted, but I do look back and be like, man, if I would have gotten help on, for example, if I would have gotten help with dating prior to my previous relationship, it would have ended completely differently because I don't think that I would have been with someone that was so not aligned with my luteal phase. Like not aligned with my follicular. In my follicular phase, we were great. We were compatible. I chose a mate. I chose a partner in my follicular phase. I'm trying to be easy on myself. I'm trying not to be hard on myself, but I literally chose someone when I was feeling my best. And I did not choose someone when I was feeling my worst. And I'm not saying you have to wait until you're in the depths of PMDD to choose someone, but you do have to be in that space where you're suffering with PMDD symptoms and you're seeing how that person is reacting to it. If I'm suffering in PMDD symptoms and I'm hibernating and I'm not really interacting with you, then I'm never going to know what it's like to be in a relationship with you while I'm suffering in PMDD. And then when I'm in the relationship and I'm like, you need to be more supportive, they never showed me that they could be supportive when I'm suffering in PMDD. Like, that's the thing that you really need to look at. Has your partner shown you that they can be supportive when you're suffering with PMDD symptoms? Have they shown you that they have the capability to show up in that way? Because when you hold someone accountable to doing something that they never told you that they can do, that's unfair to them. Like, if I'm saying I need a person, like, my love language is acts of service, which is absolutely not, like, it's not acts of service. But if I'm saying my love language is acts of service, I need someone that can do this, this, and this, this, and this. And then they've never shown me that they can do that, but I commit myself to them. I commit myself to being in a relationship with someone that has never shown me that they're natural at doing acts of service, that they naturally want to help me, that they naturally want to help me with the chores, that they naturally want to do the dishes. Like, put your partner or the person that you're dating in situations to show you the things that you need to see in your PMDD relationship. So I know for me, my love language is, my gosh, and I can't believe that in my previous relationships, it's been different. It's been so different. So, and when I've gotten into this point of really coming home to myself, it's really good being single when you're doing this, because you get to understand what it is that you like in your luteal phase when you're suffering in PMDD, that will really, really help you. And I know that my love language is physical touch. I would have never said that a year ago. A year ago, I would have been like, words of affirmation, words, 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 which for me, it was like a setup for love bombing, right? Like, when your love language is words of affirmation, then you're like setting yourself up to be with the love bomber, because they're going to be like, I love you, you're amazing. But, and I'm like eating it up like Gerber. I'm like, oh my gosh, they love me, and they're love bombing me. So that's why I had to figure that out. I worked on that with myself, with understanding that based off of my love language and having PMDD, I was setting myself up to be, when I started dating, to be with all these people that wanted to love bomb me because they were telling me all the things I wanted to hear. And I was like, stay with me. And it's like, what doesn't? But I was, and so when they ghosted me, or when they just were just BSing me, I was completely shocked, because they were tapping in. And I'll do another episode on that, but they were tapping into my love language. And I feel like in PMDD, like, I took it so hard, my depression in PMDD, because of the love bombing and because of the ghosting, was like on another level. Like, it made my symptoms worse. It exasperated my symptoms. So now I know that my love language is physical touch. When I'm dating and I'm coming home to myself and really recognizing that, I have to know if I'm going on a date with someone, and I'm not saying on a first date, like, we need to like go, like, he needs to like jump my bones or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, if I'm dating someone for multiple dates and they're not showing me physical touch at all, like as far as holding my hand, putting their arm around me, like if we're riding in the car, like how you riding in the car and you put your hand in the middle, or they put their hand on your leg or something like that. Like, I noticed that from dating, that those are things that I really, really liked. And if I'm with someone, dating someone, and they're showing me that they're just like really stoic, really standoffish, which I've dated individuals that are like that. And I've just been like, yeah, this is probably not the person for me. Because if I was to come out and say, hey, I want you to like touch me more, or physical touch is a thing for me, they would have to turn it on. People who are natural at your love language are very much more compatible with you when you're in your luteal phase, because they're not doing it just because you like them doing it. They're doing it because they want to do it. Like, I went this past for New Year's, actually. Oh, I could tell you my New Year's story. So for New Year's, I went to La La Land, which I call LA. I used to live there, and I went there for a festival, for an EDM festival. For those of you who don't know what EDM is, it's electric dance music. I love it. It's part of me going on the journey of coming home to myself. Because I was talking to my best friend, and she's like, "You've always been into that." Like, I just stopped it because it wasn't in alignment with the partner that I had, for multiple reasons. Like, you don't want to do things, and I'm trying to be very I'm trying to be very careful with my words. I didn't want to make my partner feel jealous or insecure, so I stopped doing something that I genuinely enjoyed doing. And that's hence the episode we're talking about today, boundaries. I would say the boundary that you need to set with yourself as we're going on this journey right now is when you understand the core things that bring you joy, the boundary should be it's a non-negotiable that I do these things. It is a non-negotiable that I do these things. I want you to write it down, right? Get your journal out, write down the 5 things that bring you joy. Whatever partner that you're with, it has to be a non-negotiable that you're able to do these 5 things in some capacity. Now, I'm not saying that you have to be an extremist with it. Like if I like going to EDM festivals and I like being a raver, I'm not saying I need to get with someone that's going to be okay with me being at a rave every night. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying taking it away is a boundary that I'm never going to do again. I will never, 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 never take away the things that bring me joy just to appease or make the person that I'm with feel comfortable, because the person that is right for me is going to be okay with the things that bring me joy. The person that is right for you is going to be okay with the things that bring you joy. When you start contorting yourself, right, and to stop doing things that bring you joy, you're going to get bitter, you're going to get resentful, and you're going to feel depleted, because those things that bring you joy energize you. It makes you feel like when you have to do hard things in your relationship and you have to do hard work, it makes you feel like you can do it. It makes you feel like it's worth it. It makes you feel like, yeah, it's worth doing the work with this partner because they support me in doing the things that bring me joy, versus you're having a hard time in your PMDD relationship, you're suffering with your symptoms, you're suffering in your relationship, and you're not doing things that bring you joy. And you're going to come back to the reason why the things that you're not doing the things that bring you joy is because of this person. And you're going to feel even more irritated, angry. PMDD rage is going to come out. You're going to feel irritated. And ultimately, a little secret, you're going to get the ick. And I know what the ick is. And I know you get the ick every single month with your partner, whether they're amazing or they're not. There's certain times during their luteal phase where your partner is doing things and you just have the ick. You're just like disgusted with them. Not because it doesn't even have to be because they're doing anything wrong, but like you genuinely have the ick with them. And if they're preventing you from doing the things that bring you joy, that level of feeling like you have the ick with them is going to be magnified, because in your mind, your ego is going to be like, oh, you could have been doing this, but because of Bob over there or because of Susie over there, you're not doing it. And then you're going to start thinking, after everything I've done for you, I can't believe, like there's going to be this level of entitlement, because you're going to be feeling like you're the person that stopped me from doing the things that bring me joy. So that means in return, you need to be giving me something to replace that. Like you're going to raise your level of expectations that you have for them, because you're going to be remembering that the only reason that you're not doing the things that bring you joy is because of this person. So you better make it worth it for me. Like you better make it worth it, or you better be showing up to me in a way that is proving to me that I made the right decision. But you have to understand you're doing that. You chose that person. If you're pissed off at your partner, if you're irritated with your partner, if you have the ick with your partner when you're in your luteal phase, I want to remind you, you chose that person. We are all adults. No one forced you into the relationship with your partner. So when you're making them prove to you why they should be with you and all these things, remember, you chose them. You didn't have to choose them. And that's what I had to come to terms with. There was a level of accountability that I really had to come to with my previous relationships. And I said, but at the end of the day, you will never hear me saying anything negative about my exes, because I chose them. I chose to be with this person. And so whatever they're doing to me or not doing towards me, or providing for me or not providing for me, I chose it. I signed up. I signed the contract, literally. In marriage for a lot of these individuals, not a lot of them. I mean, I've been married twice. I told you that. I've been married twice, and and I had a 10-year break in between both of my marriages, and I chose them. That's why you'll never hear me talk negative about it, because it's a reflection of me. It's like you could have married everybody. Like if you wanted to be with a Sam and you married a Bob, like that's on you. That's on you, babe. And like you need to now adjust your picker. Like if you're in the realm of you've gone through a breakup, like I have, I'm now at the point where I'm taking full accountability. Like I had to come to terms with, I don't have the best picker when it comes to my luteal phase, because I had the assumption that it was all just going to work out, like, oh my God, I have this fantasy happily ever after. It's a characteristic of mine. And I'm not even going to try to change it, because I was like, I wish that I could just be really skeptical with people, like when I meet them and like kind of like squint my eyes and like, what do you want from this? Like, what are your intentions? Like, be really like scrutinizing the people on these dates that I've been going on. But that's not me. I'm just like a go with the flow. I'm a very good vibes only. I'm a very trusting person. And I know in the dating realm, they will eat it up. They will eat me up like vultures. So I had to be very mindful with these boundaries of who has access to me. So that's the next thing that we're going to be talking about with PMDD and boundaries. Who has access to you matters when you get into PMDD. Who you allow into your space matters when you get into PMDD. You know why? Because PMDD attacks your brain. PMDD cognitively attacks your brain and your thoughts. This is why you have the intrusive thoughts. So when you're opening the door to these individuals, you have to be mindful of what they speak to you. The things that they say to you is going to impact your PMDD symptoms. The things that the person is saying to you is going to impact your PMDD symptoms because when you're in your luteal phase, cognitively, it's like think of yourself as being a little bit sick, like you're a little bit more sensitive to the things that people are saying, which is why hurtful words hurt you even more. This is why when you go into your luteal phase, the hurtful words that your partner says to you, it hurts you even more because you're more sensitive to the things that are saying. It hurts more. It hurts you to your core. So if you're with someone who's really harsh, that was a boundary that was the next boundary that I had to set. I can never, 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 never be with someone who has the propensity to yell and cuss at me. That was a boundary that I had to set. I remember with my ex, I'm I'm trying to be so careful. I remember with my ex, they used to yell and cuss at me and like it was nothing. Like it was no big deal. Like I was the problem and I was called sensitive because I was sensitive to the things that they were saying, the way that their tone, the way they were speaking to me. They used to be like, I'm just charismatic or I'm just passionate or I don't care what you want to call it. I don't care what kind of package you want to wrap it up in. You will never yell at me. You will never speak to me in a way that is degrading. You will never name call me. It's just a boundary that I had to set moving forward. If we're dating, I'm never going to commit to someone. I'm never going to commit to someone that is going to yell at me, that is going to cuss at me. I don't care. Because what the thing that was said was like, I'm not cussing at you. I'm cussing. Like, okay, well then I guess I can't, my next boundary, I can't be with someone that just uses cuss words in an argument, in a fight, like it's nothing. Like calling someone a piece of crap, or I have a clean podcast, so I'm not going to cuss on here, but you know what I mean? Like name calling because you're angry and you can't control your emotions is a no-go for me. It's a non-negotiable for me. And it's not because I saw what version of me came out when that happened. Like, and I said it before on the podcast, it made me want to go ham and cheese on that biscuit. And what I mean by that, PMDD rage was very high when someone started to yell at me and cuss at me. It like ignited the PMDD rage. And I went off. OFF capital exclamation mark. Like I went off and I've never seen that side of me. Like when I noticed who you're connected to in that version of you, because I've been with people that have triggered me and blah, 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 but never to that point. Never to that point. And when I saw that side of me, I had to set that boundary and say, I will never be with someone who brings out this side of me, it was an ugly, nasty side of me. If someone would have ran the tape, which I know I have a lot of private clients that their partner does this, I think I'm a, I'm going to address videotaping your partner. I have a lot of private clients that have come to me for whatever reason, have decided to videotape their partner when they've gone off on them in PMDD rage. When they notice that their partner is going off on rage, they videotape them and they've done it in their face. And I think I think it's not fair, but I understand where the partner's coming from, right? So that's where I have a little bit of resistance because I have a lot of private clients that are just the partners. And they're like, Dr. Rose, I wanted to videotape my partner so that they can see how nasty they were being to me, so that they can see how mean that they were being to me, so that I could show this to you And even if they didn't share it with anyone but the person that was suffering in PMDD, I wanted them to see, because it's almost like when they come out of PMDD, they're defending their behavior, or they're saying that it's not that bad, or they're not really understanding how harmful their behavior is towards me. So I videotape them. And I just want to say that if you feel the need to videotape your partner when they are suffering in PMDD and they're lashing out at you, you know that this is time for you to get help. I'm not shaming you for it. I'm not blaming you for it, but I am saying that that's a wake up call, that it's time for you to get help. If you feel like you need to pull out your phone and videotape them as you're yelling back at them too, like it's a very toxic situation. Like there's levels of toxicity in PMDD relationships, but when you feel the need to pull out the camera and document it just so you can prove your point, number one, that's the ego that's there, that's saying like, I need to show you how horrible you are to me. It's like, you probably need to get help, because a lot of times when I'm on private clients or private sessions with my clients and they're going at it, I needed to be there to be that form of a mediator, not because I do want you to get to the point where you're saying the things that you need to say to your partner, but not in a way that's damaging them and not in a way that's exasperating, making their PMDD symptoms worse. Because as their PMDD symptoms get worse, they're going to be remembering that you as the partner caused them to have their PMDD symptoms worse. And this is when they're going to get into the realm of saying like, oh, well, you're the reason that I have PMDD and I wouldn't have PMDD if it wasn't for you. Yes, you would, babe, but it wouldn't be as bad. So I will admit that. I will admit that your partner can exasperate your PMDD symptoms, but it's not that they created them. Your partners do not have the power to create PMDD for you. And I'll say that again because I feel like there's a misconception with that. Your partner does not have the power within themselves to create PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, in you. Can they exasperate your symptoms? Can they make them worse? Absolutely, but they can't create them. Like you're prepackaged. Some individuals have PMDD, it's approximately 1 in 20, and some don't. If you have an individual that does not have PMDD, you cannot create a PMDD symptoms within them. They're not going to show up and be like, oh my gosh, I was completely PMDD symptom free, and then I got with this partner and all of a sudden I have premenstrual dysphoric disorder. No, there is a way that PMDD can become lying dormant. And this is why I'm always very cautious of how I talk about my PMDD journey, because I will never tell you I'm cured of PMDD. Like I'm completely PMDD symptom free. There are times in my life, such as now, where my PMDD symptoms are definitely not as bad as they were a year ago. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to sit up here and claim to you that I don't have any PMDD symptoms. Like I'm not waking up in a cold sweat. Like I'm not freaking having anxiety and heart palpitations, that I'm not feeling like that my body doesn't heat up, like literally feel hot, like I'm a burning furnace. That I don't have over intrusive thoughts and overthinking, and that I don't get stressed easily. Like I would be BSing you if I was to literally tell you I broke up with my partner and now I don't have any PMDD symptoms. No, that's not true. It's that they're more manageable, and I can look back on the situation and see how a lot of the things that was going on in my PMDD relationships, it caused them to be less. But like, I'm not going to tell you that I'm PMDD symptom free. I would never sell that to you. I would never tell that to you. So I would just be cautious as you're going into the community of getting help, of being mindful of those individuals that are saying that, who are saying, I healed my PMDD, I cured my PMDD, and all of these things, because ultimately what it does is it makes the individuals that are still suffering with PMDD feel horrible and feel like they're climbing this ladder, and like maybe they need to do more. Maybe they're not doing good enough, or maybe I'm not taking enough supplements, or maybe I'm not. Don't don't fall into that, because it's going to make you feel horrible about yourself. I want you to learn ways to manage your PMDD, to navigate your whatever word you want to use, but never get into a place where you're feeling like the only way I can feel better is if I don't have PMDD anymore. Like that's you're putting the bar so high. It's like this unrealistic expectation that anything else you do to improve your PMDD symptoms is going to feel like nothing. It's going to be like, big deal. I don't have as much anxiety as last month. It's still here. Like, you see what I mean? You see how the way that you're looking at it can make you actually feel worse. Like you're not giving yourself enough credit. And so this year in my journey, after the breakup of healing and going into dating, one of the boundaries that I set was I have to do my PMDD partner's morning routine. Like I can't be with someone, I can't add someone to my life that is gonna like impact what I need to do for my PMDD symptoms. So I have a PMDD partner's morning routine. You may have an evening routine, a daily routine, whatever the thing is. I know the things that I need to have in my life during my luteal phase and pretty much all month long because I'm a very habit-based person. I know things that I need to be able to do, and I'm never going to connect myself with someone that is going to prevent me from doing the things that make me feel my best when I'm in PMDD as best as I can feel. I would not be compatible with someone that is going to stop that. So that's the other boundary that I had to set when it came to coming home to myself, is that I can't be with someone who doesn't allow me to do my PMDD partner's morning routine. So think about that boundary for you. Think about the things, and I would say just list out 3 things that make you feel your best when you're in PMDD. 3 things that make you feel your best, and commit yourself to being with a partner that allows you to feel your best, right? So when we're talking about boundaries and PMDD, these are the things that you need to really be thinking about when you're connecting yourself with someone. And even if you already are with someone, you are already in a relationship with someone, it doesn't mean that you can't set boundaries. Because I know a lot of you are thinking like, oh, it's too late. It's too late. I'm already in the relationship. No, it's not too late. It's not too late, but I'm going to give you some ways to let you know if setting boundaries is something that you genuinely need to work on. So the first thing is, these are ways that you know that you do not have boundaries in your PMDD relationship. So the first way is that you feel overwhelmed or resentful, right? So you're constantly feeling like you're giving too much to your partner. You're giving too much to the person that you're dating, and you're not receiving enough in return. You're getting exhausted, you're getting burnt out, and you're feeling bitter and you're feeling resentful. This is happening because you're not setting certain boundaries in your PMDD relationship. When you don't set limits on how much emotional, physical, or mental energy that you're giving to your partner, that's a sign that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship. And when you get to this point, the way that you can really say, I want to start setting boundaries with this, and I know that I'm frequently feeling overwhelmed, the biggest tool for this is when your partner is wanting you to do something, asking you to do something, you're about to do something for your partner, and you're in your luteal phase of PMDD, ask yourself, do I have energy? Do I have the energy to do this for my partner, or am I going to be bitter and resentful? Because we can force ourselves to do it. If you're like a high functioning PMDD partner, you can force yourself to do all the things. But do you really ask yourself, do I have the energy to do this? Do I have the energy to do this? So the next sign that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship is you avoid speaking up about what you really need and want in your PMDD relationship during your luteal phase. So you're silent about your feelings, you're walking on eggshells, and this could be the partner that has PMDD and the partner that doesn't have PMDD. Ask yourself this question right now, and this is really going to help you. If you have something that you're genuinely needing in your PMDD relationship, can you just walk up to your partner right now and tell them what it is that you need without feeling like you're walking on eggshells, without feeling like it could turn into a fight, it could turn into an argument, all of these things? Are you in a place where you could do that? Or do you stay silent? Or do you filter your feelings and your preferences and your boundaries to avoid upsetting your partner? This is a sign that you don't have boundaries and that you're a people pleaser. You don't want to upset your partner. I could say this, but I don't want to upset them. Or I could say that, but I don't want them to get mad at me. And so even when their behavior impacts you negatively, again, this is for the partner who has PMDD and for the partner who doesn't. When your partner is genuinely doing something that is impacting you negatively and upsetting you and triggering you, and you don't feel like you have the capacity to go up to them and to talk to them about it, the boundary that you need to set is that you're with someone and you're in a relationship that provides a safe place for you, that you feel safe with them. I remember being in so many relationships where I didn't feel safe to talk about my feelings. I didn't feel safe to say what I really felt because number one, I didn't feel like they were going to take me seriously. Or number two, I just didn't feel like it was going to make a difference. I didn't feel like it was going to make a difference. And I felt like they were going to make fun of me. And so I got to this place where I was like, you know what? I I really I have to be with someone that makes me feel safe to express what it is that I'm feeling. I have to be, and that could be a boundary that you're setting. I have to be with someone that allows me to feel safe to say what I'm really feeling. That's where I'm at on my journey right now. So I welcome if I get into conflict with the person that I'm dating or talking to, or there's a misunderstanding, because I want to know, do I feel safe to go to them and say what I'm really thinking, say what I'm really feeling, or am I scared? Like, you should never be scared to talk to your partner. You should never be scared to express how you're really feeling. You should never feel like you have to walk on eggshells and have that level of fear, because it's hard to be intimate with someone that you're scared of. And I'm going to repeat that. It's hard to be intimate with someone that you're scared of. It's hard to let your wall down and lean in and be loving and use all the tools that I give to you and my private clients if you're scared of them, if you feel like they're going to bite your head off, if you feel like they're going to say something that is so hurtful to you that you're never going to be able to forgive them, because words matter. What you say matters. The words linger. I don't care if they say sorry later on or they say whatever. It matters and it impacts you. So I want you to recognize that you need to set that boundary of being with someone that makes you feel safe and secure to talk about your feelings. So the next sign that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship or the person that you're dating is you take responsibility for your partner's emotions. I used to do this all the time. How my partner felt was a direct reflection of what kind of partner I was. This is the biggest mistake that I made, is that when my partner was having a bad day, I took responsibility for it. When my partner was in a bad mood, I took responsibility for it. I didn't set the boundary. I felt like it was my job to fix or manage my partner's emotions, especially during PMDD. Like, if I was in a certain state of PMDD where I was shutting down, I felt like I needed to contort myself. And by contort myself, is I feel like I needed to change the version that I was showing up as because it was triggering my partner. And that is the biggest mistake that you can make, because you will burn yourself out trying to pretend like you're not in PMDD. You will burn yourself out trying to pretend that you're in your follicular phase when you're really suffering with your PMDD symptoms and you're stuffing it down. And it's like you're dying on the inside, you're crying on the inside, and on the outside you're smiling. And for a lot of partners, they can feel that energy. They know that it's not authentic. They know that you're not really happy, but some of them will choose to just take the behavior anyway. Like, I've had partners where even though they knew that it was causing me to suffer to show up in a certain way, they took it because it was better than me showing up in PMDD. And so I had to set that boundary of, I'm not going to neglect my own emotional needs in PMDD, and I'm not going to show up to you any other way than how I'm genuinely feeling. So the boundary that I'm setting is, I am not connecting myself with someone where I feel like I have to fix them. I do not have to fix anyone that I'm connected with. You do not have to fix your partner. And again, this is for the partner who has PMDD and who doesn't. It is not your job to fix your partner. It is not like you have to go under the hood and be like, oh my gosh, you're in a bad mood, I need to fix it because I'm their partner. No, you don't. No, you don't. And so the next way that you can tell that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship is you allow hurtful behavior to continue without addressing it. I am so disgusted with myself when I think about the level of treatment that I have accepted and endured in previous PMDD relationships. I was watching this movie called It Ends With Us, or It Starts With Us. I think it's Ends. Anyway, it's on Netflix. And I was watching the movie, and there was a time frame at the end of the movie. I think It Ends With Us. And there was a time frame, and I know they have a book and a series out. So spoiler alert, but there was a part in the end of the movie where he was trying to get back with her after he had abused her, basically. And he had apologized for it and all of these things. And she made a comment to him after she said that she wanted a divorce. And she said, if our daughter, because she was in the hospital, she had just had a baby. And she was like, if our daughter came to you and told you that she was with a partner that hit her, and told her that she was with a partner that it was abusing her, what would you tell her? And she was asking the guy, her husband at the time. And he said, I would beg her to leave. I would beg her to never go back. And I was bawling in that movie. I was crying so hard because it hit home for me so much because I thought to myself, if the things that I have accepted in my past PMDD relationships, if my daughter, and I have a 15-year-old daughter who is, I'm very open with her about dating right now because I want to, I want to have those open conversations with her. And I said to myself, if she had come to me and told me that she accepted half of the treatment that I have accepted in my PMDD relationships, what would I have told her? And it was the exact same thing. I would have begged her to leave. I would have begged her to never go back. I would have begged her to think more of herself, to know that she deserves someone who makes her feel safe and secure and who loves her and adores her and protects her and puts her treatment, puts the way that they treat her before anger that the person may feeling. And what I mean is emotional intelligence, meaning your partner can be angry. Your partner can be triggered. Your partner can be irritated. Your partner can be annoyed. But the difference between being with someone who doesn't have emotional intelligence, who does not have emotional intelligence, and who does is someone, a partner that has emotional intelligence is someone that can feel angry, that can feel triggered, that can feel overwhelmed, that can feel stressed and still treat you with respect. That is not going to call you out of your name, that is not going to abuse you because they can't take control of their emotions. So if this is my daughter and she had gone through what I have been through in relationships, I would beg her, please choose a person that has emotional intelligence. Please choose a person that will treat you with respect, regardless of how they're feeling. It's not about being with someone who's never going to be impacted by anything that goes on in your relationships. It's about being with someone who would never cross the line of verbally or physically abusing you. And if they had, that they're willing to accept that and get help for it, that they're willing to recognize it, take accountability for it, and get help for it, because I truly believe a lot of the behaviors that I've accepted in my past relationships that are horrible, if they would have come to me and been like, this is something that I genuinely need to work on, like I'm going to go to therapy, I'm going to go to counseling, I'm going to work on myself, I'm going to figure out what is in me that made me feel like it was okay to treat you like this and get help for it, I would have supported them. Right. But when you do not take a responsibility or accountability for abusive behavior, and that means you're going to continue to do it. And so you can listen to my previous episodes on what abusive behavior looks like in PMDD relationships. And I absolutely do not condone it. I understand how you can have PMDD and you get into those modes of being in those places, but I never, never, never condone it. And so one of the boundaries is when you're in PMDD, when I'm in PMDD, that you're never going to talk to me like crap. You're just not going to do it. And it's not that I'm talking to you like crap and then you're not talking, because I've seen that too, where the person feels like they can yell at them, they can yell at their partner, they can yell at their partner, curse at their partner, all of these things, and they're just expecting them to just not respond to it. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is connect yourself with someone who has enough respect for you to understand that if they are in that place where they're so triggered, that they're like, you know what? I need to take a beat. I need to take a break. I had a partner before that said this to me and I respect it so much. And they said, I respect you. I'm angry right now. I'm pissed off right now, but I respect you too much to stay in this conversation and say or do something that I'm going to regret. And they walked away and I respected them so much because that showed me that even in the depths of their anger, they were not going to disrespect me. They were not going to abuse me. They were not going to harm me. So the next sign that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship is you say yes when you really want to say no. I started this program that's all about the journey of self-love, and I invested a lot of money in this program. And I was listening to one of her trainings today, and what she said to me or said to me in the training that I was looking at the recording was like, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no. So this means that when you're in this place of not having boundaries, you're agreeing to things that you're uncomfortable with. You're agreeing to go and do things that you genuinely don't have the mindset to do, you don't have the energy to do in your luteal phase. And I used to do this all the time. I did not have boundaries because I would be exhausted. I would be so exhausted, and I would still go on plans and have conversations and do all these responsibilities just to keep the peace or avoid feeling guilty. Like I didn't want to feel guilty for not going to the event. So I would get into this realm of just kind of like, oh yeah, I can do that, or I can do that because I thought my partner, no, I knew my partner wanted me to do it. And so even though I felt depleted, I allowed myself to do it. I allowed myself to do it, and I felt horrible afterwards. So that's the next sign that you don't have boundaries is you feel drained. If you feel drained after spending time with your PMDD partner, companion, anyone that you're dating, it's because you're emotionally depleted because you're constantly giving without protecting your own energy and asking yourself that question that I told you in the beginning. Do I have energy for this interaction? Do I have energy for this? Because when you're in that place of not asking yourself, do I have energy for this? And just putting yourself in situations, going to events with your partner, going to have conversations and doing all these things that you genuinely don't have the energy to do, but feeling like because you're in a relationship, because you want to please your partner, that you're going to do it, you're going to feel drained and you're going to feel depleted, and you're going to start to question whether you should even be in this PMDD relationship because every single time you're interacting with your partner, you're feeling depleted. And it's gonna cognitively in your brain is gonna associate your partner with burnout. Your brain is going to say, oh, she's going to spend time with her partner, she's going to be burnt out. Now you're going to be feeling like the only way that you can have peace in PMDD is to get rid of your partner. And this is when we get into the PMDD monthly breakups, because you're genuinely going to be so burnt out where you're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore. And yes, of course you can't do it anymore because you've been doing it way longer than you should have. You should have said no earlier. So that's showing that you don't have boundaries because you don't have the capability to say no in situations with your partner that are genuinely draining you. You know that it's going to drain you. I used to know that if I was in my luteal phase and I was going to spend time with my partner, a lot of the things that I was doing was going to drain me. And so this is the next sign that you don't have boundaries is you avoid or you dread certain situations with your partner. You avoid it. And that's how I was. Like I was avoiding having certain conversations because I felt like it was going to turn into a fight. I knew that there were certain things that I wanted to bring up, certain things that were triggering me, certain things that needed to be addressed, but I started to not talk about them. And when you stuff down your emotions, here's the thing about premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It rips the blanket off of every single thing that you have going on in your brain. So you can't avoid it. You can't deny it. Like it's gonna come up. So you need to be able to express it in a way that you feel good about. But you don't have boundaries because you're avoiding talking about certain things. You're avoiding being in certain situations. You're avoiding having these emotions because you don't feel empowered enough to set boundaries and say, you know what? I don't have the energy for this right now. Put it back on you. This is something that you can do. Put it back on you. That's the one thing I said in the previous episode. I'm okay with being the bad guy. If I need to set a boundary and you want to put it on me then. Oh, we need to talk about this. We need to talk about this right now. Well, I don't have the energy to talk about this right now. I don't have the energy to talk about this right now. I know that you want to talk about it, and I do want to talk about it with you, but I don't have the energy for it right now. You're not blaming them. You're genuinely saying, it's me. It's me. Like the Taylor Swift song, I'm the problem. It's me. If you're not willing to do that, that's the ego telling you, you don't, the ego is preventing you from literally saying that you're the reason why you don't have the energy for the conversation. My PMDD is so high right now. I can't. That's what I started to say. My PMDD is so high right now, I can't. And a lot of times you don't want to get to the point where you're blaming it on your PMDD. You don't want to admit that PMDD is the issue because you may have valid things that you're wanting to talk about. And you don't want to admit that, hey, the reason why you guys can't have this conversation is because you're in PMDD right now. Let go of the ego and be honest. Let go of the ego and be honest and say, I'm in premenstrual dysphoric disorder. I'm in my luteal phase. I cannot. I would love to talk to you about this. I would love to have a session with Dr. Rose. I would love to really get to the bottom of this, but I want to do it in a way that's productive. What is the point of being in communication with your partner about an issue when you don't have the energy to do it? Because what's going to happen is you're going to listen to them and they're going to be going off because they have all the energy. They're not in PMDD. So they're going to be going off and saying, you did this and da, 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 da. They're going to be saying all of these things, and you're going to be taking it in and taking it in and taking it in. And 9 times out of 10, it's negative. So you're taking it in and you're taking it in and taking it in. And guess what happens? You go off on PMDD rage. You explode because you've been listening to them go on and on and on and on and on. When you know good and well, you didn't have the energy to take on any of their energy. You can be in a place of PMDD where you don't have the energy to take on their energy. But you put yourself in that situation and you need to take responsibility for that. You put yourself in a situation to be accepting your partner's negative energy when you're not in that place. And maybe when you go into your follicular phase, you can get to a place where it's like, I can listen to a lot more things from my partner that are perceivingly negative without me taking it personally, without me getting offended, without me feeling overly sensitive. I can do that in my follicular phase. And my luteal phase, absolutely not. So my boundary, and the boundary that you need to set is, do you have the energy to do it? If you do, then do it. If you don't, then don't. It's very easy. And I know a lot of you are thinking like, how do I set the boundary? I don't have the energy. And if you're with a person that is not allowing you to take that space, that's a dangerous situation to be. Because I remember being in that place. I remember distinctly telling a partner, hey, I don't have the energy to do this, like setting the boundary. And they followed me around. And I went off. I went off because I felt like I was being trapped. And I felt like I was so stressed and overwhelmed. And the behavior that came out of that after that was horrible. It was horrible. I was so ashamed at my behavior, but it was because I allowed myself to be with a person that didn't respect my boundaries. When you're with a person that doesn't respect your boundaries, it's a dangerous situation because you're going to feel the need to protect yourself, protect your peace. And the way that you do that, the way that you really, really do that is a lot of times you're lashing out. It's like an animal. If you feel like you're being attacked, you attack back. And so I would tell you, do not put yourself in a situation with a person that is not going to respect your boundaries, because it's going to be a very dangerous situation, because you're going to get your boundaries like respected, but it's going to be in a violent way and it's going to be in an abusive way. And you're going to feel horrible about yourself afterwards. And so the next time that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship is you apologize excessively. You're always apologizing. You find yourself apologizing even when you're not at fault. I did this and I felt horrible afterwards. I apologize for things that I didn't do just to keep the peace or to prevent my partner from being upset. And so they would be going on and on and on about something. I was like, you know what? I'm wrong. That was on me. That's on me. It was never on me a lot of the times that I was apologizing, but I didn't have any boundaries. So I was like, yeah, I did that. Or I shouldn't have done that. Or I'm really sorry, babe, that I blah, 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 blah. I didn't mean it. It wasn't authentic. And I felt horrible about myself doing it. Not having boundaries means you have a lack of self-worth and you will feel horrible about yourself. The longer that you operate in your PMDD relationship without boundaries, the more your self-worth goes in the trash, in the garbage. It's garbage. You feel horrible about yourself. You feel like you start accepting things that you would have never accepted the longer you live without boundaries. You start accepting some really horrible, crappy behavior and start to think that that's what you deserve. And you're going to be disgusted with yourself. Like, this is why I've had to take this year to really rebuild myself, is because I spent years just not having boundaries and letting someone plow all over me and just whatever you need and blah, blah, blah. Again, I think having a child helps, having a daughter helps, because I look back on what I did and I have to ask myself, what would I tell my daughter to do? What would I tell her to not do? And I'm so grateful that I'm learning this lesson at the time that I'm learning it, because I will forever, for you, my private clients, and my daughter, I will forever say you need to have boundaries, right? You need to have certain standards. People need to respect you. People need to value you. And they need to, that goes into how you present yourself, actually. So this is why I had to do the work with myself with the course that I'm on, that has to do with self-love, because people will disrespect you if they feel like that's what you're tolerating. People will respect you and respect your boundaries to the level of how you're presenting yourself. I know that the version of me right now no one would feel comfortable disrespecting me. No one would feel comfortable going beyond my boundaries because I would be looking at you like a deer in the headlights. Like I wouldn't, it would be an uncomfortable situation for you to disrespect me right now, for you to not respect my boundaries. Like you would feel uncomfortable doing it. But the person that I was a year ago, everybody felt comfortable disrespecting my boundaries or not respecting my boundaries. Everybody felt comfortable. Everybody was like, "Oh, she's it's fine. She'll be okay." I was it was horrible, and I felt horrible. I paid for that. I paid for not having boundaries. So if you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship, again, this is for the partner who has PMDD and who doesn't. You will pay. You will feel horrible about yourself, and then you're going to feel depleted, and it's not good. And so another sign that you don't have any boundaries is you're ignoring your own self-care. I would say this is the only one that I feel like I held on to, that I kind of stood firm in when it came to my boundaries, is I never let go of my PMDD partner's morning routine and my self-care. But when you start to neglect your physical, emotional, or mental well-being because you're entirely focused on supporting your partner and what it is that they need, you're going to get bitter. You're going to get resentful. Never stop pouring into you. I remember I felt myself slipping into that. And I, I didn't do it because I remember thinking to myself, if I go through this situation with my relationship and I end up looking like crap, feeling like crap, I'm gonna feel even worse about it. There was a time I was so stressed in my PMDD relationship during my luteal phase, I literally broke out like in these hives. They looked horrible. It looked like it was around the time that like monkeypox was out, like first coming out after COVID. So I was like, oh my gosh, do I have monkeypox? Like I couldn't describe what it was, but it was literally my body was so stressed and overwhelmed from everything that I was going through. So it was an outward expression of what was going on with me internally. Like I literally was breaking out in these bumps. They were little, I don't even like talking about them because they sound horrible, but there were these little small patches of bumps, and I had them all over my body. Like it started on my forearm, and they would get itchy, and I couldn't scratch them because then it would spread. And it wasn't chicken pox. It was literally my body was like saying, no, ma'am. This is what not having boundaries is. Your body will literally make you pay. You will hold on to weight, specifically belly fat, when you're stressed and overwhelmed for not setting these boundaries. Your body doesn't like it when you don't have boundaries, and it's going to let you know. You're going to look like you don't have boundaries. And I remember saying to myself, oh my gosh, please, please, please never let me look like what I've been through. Never let me, because I feel like it's harder when you look like it, because then you can't avoid it. Like the thing about PMDD is it's not a physical disorder. Yes, it impacts you physically, but it's not like every month you get these hives all over your face. Like that time that I had the bumps, that lasted for like a month and a half. It was horrible, but I remember thinking to myself, like, oh my gosh, what if every single time I go in my luteal phase, like I would get all these bumps all over my body? Like I was freaking out. And it was like a wake-up call. It was like, you're so stressed and overwhelmed in this relationship, in whatever's going on in your life, that you, because of the boundaries that you have not set, that your body is literally like pimpling out. Like how crazy would it be to not take a step back and be like, wait a minute. And a lot of times when you're starting to see symptoms physically on you, it's because your body's trying to get you to pay attention to it. It's like, okay, you're not paying attention to the anxiety. You're not paying attention to the depression, but guess what you are going to pay attention to? That's these bumps all over your body. Like that's when I knew I had to take a step back. And I was like, wait a minute, what am I accepting? What's going on? What am I doing that I don't have the energy to do? And the last sign that you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship is you feel trapped and taken for granted. I felt so taken for granted because I would literally be replaying in my mind all of the things that I was doing, and I wasn't getting any respect. I wasn't getting any level of appreciation. And I felt stuck. I felt unappreciated. And I felt like my partner wasn't respecting my boundaries, but I didn't really set a lot of them either. So that was on me, because it's like, how can you expect your partner to respect boundaries that you never set? Like I was mad at my partner for not abiding by a lot of the boundaries that I never said was a requirement. And the thing about boundaries is they need to be a non-negotiable. This is not like an optional thing. When you make your boundaries optional, the option is always going to be, yeah, no. Like when you make it optional, they're always going to choose the option that's most convenient for them. Like, oh, you want me to do this for you? You want me to do this? Yeah, I'm not doing that. Because what is most convenient for them is to take advantage of you because you don't have any boundaries. And then it's a lot of times when you don't have boundaries, I'm adding this in extra. When you don't have boundaries, you threaten to do a lot of things that you never really do. And it gets old and you train your partner to like listen to you say things that are never going to come to pass. Like I did an episode on that before where it's like when you threaten to break up, but then you never really break up, you're losing respect for yourself. Your partner's losing respect for you. Your self-worth is going in the trash because you're never actually doing the things that you're saying that you're going to do. That means you don't have boundaries. My boundary is if I say something, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. If I say that I'm not going to do something, I'm not going to do it. I don't care how much you try to convince me, try to guilt me, try to manipulate me, try to gaslight me. I'm not doing it. That is a boundary. You need to have some non-negotiables of what you're not going to handle, what you're not going to tolerate in your luteal phase. You just need to. Otherwise, you're going to suffer. Otherwise, you might as well just tell someone it's like drilling a hole in a wall and you're just like drilling it in. You're pushing it in, you're pushing it in. You will suffer when you don't have boundaries in your PMDD relationship. And some partners will allow you to. Even if they know that you're suffering, they're going to let you suffer because it benefits them, because you're doing something for them that benefits them. And so they're never going to be like, oh, I've taken it too far. No, it's never too far. It's never too far for them. So this is one of the most important things that I want you to take away from this whole episode is you need to start listing out, and this is the perfect time to do it in 2025, list out your boundaries, list out your non-negotiables during your luteal phase. When I'm in PMDD, I'm not doing this. When I'm in PMDD, I am doing this, and list it out and hand it to your partner. Don't just expect them to know. And the reason why I say hand it to them or send it to them in a note, open the notes app in your phone and send it to them. Send it to them in a text message. Send it to them in an email because they'll forget. And then it's kind of like the thing when you're in a meeting and somebody says something and you're like, please refer to my notes. Like, please refer to the notes that are down below. Like that's how I feel whenever I'm setting boundaries. I make it very clear with anyone. And a lot of times it's going to be hard for you in the beginning because you're going to want to revert back to doing the things that you were doing before when you didn't have boundaries. And so it's going to take practice. It's going to take practice. So you have to enforce your boundaries again and again and again. And know that the people that are meant to be in your life will respect your boundaries. You're not going to lose someone for setting boundaries. And if you lose them, they weren't meant to be with you. If you start setting boundaries and you start losing people, they're not meant to be on your journey because they're only there to contribute to your burnout. They're only there to contribute to your burnout. And it's going to make your PMDD symptoms worse. When you start setting boundaries and you're with an emotionally intelligent, healthy partner, companion, whatever you want to call it, they'll respect you. They'll respect your boundaries and they'll be like, okay, sure, babe, thanks for letting me know. They will be grateful that you're telling them what it is that you're not going to do, or you're telling them what it is that you are going to do. They'll be grateful for your communication of your boundaries and they'll say, okay, and then open the door for them to set boundaries with you too. Like, let it be a mutual thing. Like, hey, when I'm in my luteal phase, these are the things that I'm going to focus on doing because this is what's going to make me feel my best. What are some of the things that'll make you feel your best when I'm in my luteal phase? Like have that open conversation. So you're setting boundaries and it's on an equal playing ground, not rushing in there and telling your partner and yelling at them. That number one, when you start yelling and cursing and all those things, they don't respect you. They don't believe you. They're going to call you crazy. Like they're not taking you seriously. They're not taking you seriously. If you're yelling your boundaries, they're not taking you seriously. They're literally like, okay. Like they're like, look at this crazy person going off. Like they're losing respect for you. And then you're going to feel stressed and overwhelmed. Your PMDD symptoms are going to be worse. So one of the things that you can do if you're feeling like I really want to have this conversation with my partner and establish some boundaries, maybe you need a discovery session with me where you're really discovering what are the boundaries that I need to set. What are the boundaries that I need to set, and how can I communicate it to my partner? So if this is something that you know that you need help with, go to inlovewithpmdd.com. I'll put the link down in the show notes for the PMDD relationship reset sessions. And this is something that we can do in one session. We can do a discovery session where we're discovering what are the boundaries that you need to have during your specific luteal phase based off of what you have going on in your life, and we can customize it. And then we can also have the conversation with your partner where you're establishing your boundaries and what does that look like? Because it's one thing to have the boundaries, and it's another thing to know how it's going to impact your relationship. How is it going to show up in your relationship? How is this going to impact your relationship? What does the new version of your relationship look like? And so I really want you to envision this right now, because I've been doing a lot of vision work where you're kind of like imagining what would your life look like if you had boundaries? Like, ask yourself that. And I asked myself that, and I was like, oh my, I would feel so free. I wouldn't have anything constricting me from saying anything. I wouldn't have anything constricting me from doing anything. I would be free to do what I need to do to make me feel my best. I would be free to say what I need to say when it's really on my mind. I wouldn't feel like I can't like walk. I wouldn't feel like I'm walking on eggshells. So the biggest way that setting a boundary in my PMDD relationship would impact me, what would it feel like for me to have boundaries in my PMDD relationship, is I would feel free. I wouldn't feel stuck in a situation that I'm not really happy with, but I have to pretend like I'm happy, or I wouldn't feel like I needed to constrain myself or my partner. I would feel free. So freedom is the word that really came to mind when I said, what would it look like to have boundaries in my PMDD relationship? I would have freedom. Freedom for the stress and the overwhelm, because anytime that I was suffering in PMDD, anytime that I was suffering in my luteal phase, I would immediately say, do I have the energy to do this? And if the answer is no, that's okay. I don't have to do it. Like, how freeing would that be? If you're in a relationship with someone and you know that you're feeling stressed, and you know that you're feeling overwhelmed, you know that you're suffering in your PMDD symptoms, and you know that they're asking you to do something, or requiring you, or implying whatever it is that you feel like you have to do something, but you don't have the energy to do it, how freeing would it be to just say, you know what, I don't have the energy to do that right now. And to be able to say it so calm and lovingly, and not like, I can't do this right now. I can't freaking do, like, not going off, but just being able to think, you know what, I thought about it. I actually don't have the energy to do this right now. Is that okay, babe? Like, and again, when you're asking, is it okay? Obviously it's okay. Like, you've already decided it's okay with you, but you just bringing them into that conversation. And just saying, I really, say if they wanted you to go out to an event, a social event, and you know that you have PMDD and you have misophonia, and you just saying to them, babe, I would really love to go to this event with you, but I just really don't have the energy to do it right now. And I know that it's going to be loud and it's going to make my symptoms worse, but you go have a good time. Like, I want you to go, I want you to have fun. But I just don't have the energy to do it right now. Can we do something more quiet? Can we like have dinner? And then after that, you can go to the event? Like, be in a negotiation mode, be in a mode where you're kind of like, you're trying to work with them, but you're working with your partner without working yourself out and getting burnt out. So again, if this is something that you know that you need help with, go to inlovewithpmdd.com. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for you to get those PMDD relationship reset sessions so you can learn how to start setting those boundaries for your luteal phase for PMDD, and then learning how to communicate them to your partner in a way that they're going to be accepting of your boundaries and not turned off from it. Not feeling like they're attacked, not feeling like they're not getting their needs met, not feeling like it's going to cause an argument, not feeling like it's going to cause a fight, not feeling like you need to now walk on eggshells, and not feeling like it's something that you just can't do. When you start practicing setting those boundaries, it's really, really, really going to help you in your PMDD relationship. It's really going to release a lot of that stress in your PMDD relationship. So until next episode, we got this. I love you. I hope these tools help you and your PMDD partner. If you have not enrolled to get the course, My Partner Has PMDD, Now What? Then you want to make sure that you are one of the first 12 individuals that gets the course for the month of December to get that complimentary private session with me. And then after that, it'll go back to regular price without the private sessions. But what this course is going to do for you is give your partner all of the tools that they need on how to be a supportive PMDD partner. What does that look like? I always say that your partner doesn't need more information, they need more implementation. They need more transformational tools. And this is the program for you. So I'm looking forward to you getting those tools in the program. And until next episode, we got this.